Welcome everyone to Games and Gaming Podcast, Episode 6, Hidden Graphics. In this episode, we'll talk about a few 8-bit indie games, what we think about remastered games, and how Daniel has been cheating in board games. Please enjoy. Hello everyone, I'm Mark.
And I'm Daniel.
And last week I did lots of fun things, and those things were play video games. But before I get to what I want to say, Daniel's going to talk to us first. So Daniel, take it off.
Well, I've also done great and wonderful fun things, like playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
And I played Dust, an Elysian Tale. It was provided to me by a great friend of mine that felt that I had to play this game. And when I put it on my wish list in Steam, he decided to get it for me. So
immediately buy it for you. Yes.
That was really nice of you.
Because you need to play this game, because it's a great game. And what did you think of it?
I thought it's pretty good. I thought it was going to be just one of those button matching, just tap, 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 go, you know. But the combo stuff that you do, it could be pretty fun. And it's actually the way the combat flows is really cool. Somehow it just flows nice, and you can fly through the air, you know, as you're slicing people with the magical sword that you get. And then you don't even have to land on the floor. You can just somehow just go back and forth, like go to the right, go to the left while you're in the air, but using your special power and beat people up in the air and do some crazy combos. And yeah, and it gets addictive trying to do all the combos you can, as the longest combos you can, you know. Seeing that number go up and up and up, and it's like, oh, one more hit. And it's like, it's pretty fun that way. So
what's the highest combo you've gotten to?
30-something? Like 35 or something. I just started it.
Yeah.
And
well, as I mentioned before, there is an achievement for getting an 1,000-hit combo, and I do have that achievement. So
in that
you
game?
have a long ways to go.
How's that possible? I mean, because in the beginning, you only have like 3 or 4 enemies per screen. Then you have to go to the next screen, and by the time you make it to the next screen, your combo's already done. Unless you're like zooming through the screens, because you can do the dash and zoom really quick. But maybe later on in the game, you get more characters to beat up on or something that I haven't encountered. But that's insane. I don't think I'll ever achieve that. No, I won't do that. But I'll try.
Yeah.
And the story so far seems pretty cool. You know, in the beginning they talk about a warrior that I can't remember he passed out, he died or something, and then you find your character. He wakes up, he doesn't remember anything. He has got amnesia, and then this little fairy thing comes up to you and says hello. She was following the sword that found you and woke you up, a magical sword that speaks to you.
A sword that speaks to you? What kind of game is this?
So then you just start from there, and you go to the closest village. So I just got to that village, and you battle the first big boss, I guess, and it's bigger than the little ones, the little minions I've been fighting. You fight him, and then when you defeat him, 2 more show up after that one. So I stopped there. I was just like, okay, I'm done for right now. It's interesting, you know. It's got the whole leveling up of your character, your skills, when you earn more points. So the highest combos you do, the higher the combo you do, the more points you get and whatnot. I did find it interesting that it said that when you cannot have a stat that's 4 points higher than the lowest stat. I think that's what he said.
Really? I can't remember, so, I mean, sure.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Like, your highest stat can be 4 points higher than your lowest stat. So it kind of makes you keep things a little bit even. So you don't have like 20,000 points of strength or whatever, you know, I don't know. And then like 1 point of defense. So it makes you keep things even. So I guess that's interesting. But like I said, I've only leveled up once so far. So it's not like I've gotten a chance to really experiment with the leveling up and stuff.
Yep.
But so far, so good. I mean, I've enjoyed it more than I thought I would, actually.
Yeah, and that game, I want to say, it'll take you a little while to get there, but the final boss fight in that game is so satisfying. Just, it seems like so many games, you get to the final boss, and it's just like, hit him 3 times, oh, and he's dead, hey, you beat the game. It's like, oh, man, but that boss fight in that game is very satisfying. I was thoroughly impressed when I beat it. I was like, man, that felt right, because the whole game is leading up to that final fight. And when you finally get in there, it's not just like 3 hits and it's over. I wouldn't say it's a very long and drawn out fight, but it's satisfying. That's the best word I can think to describe it, is just it's satisfying.
Nice. Well, that's that game. The second game that I've started this week is The Walking Dead Season 2, the Telltale game. Now, I remember last time I was talking about Season 1, how I was just like, meh, about it. And it took to the 4th episode, to finally get into it. Yeah. Well, the difference between this one, Season 1 of The Walking Dead, and The Wolf Among Us was, for me, it seemed like The Walking Dead had a really strong ending. It really got me, like it really captured me, like it got my attention pretty much. And I feel now that the start of the game, how you started, all that was needed for you to have the history with the characters. So when the decisions at the end had to happen, it was even more of a heavy decision to make.
Yeah.
So therefore it made the ending stronger than I was thinking it was going to be. So I really liked the ending. It's a great ending for the Season 1. So, of course...
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
it's one of those things that just really makes you think about, like, the choices you've made throughout the game. You're like, oh man, I wonder if I didn't do this or I didn't do that, how it would have changed the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And spoilers if you haven't played it, I had Lee's arm cut off. Thinking it will save him. I don't want to say anymore. But it was pretty crazy. I think not many people chose to do that, if I remember correctly. You know how it gives you the stats at the end? Maybe they did, actually. I think a lot of people did actually cut his arm off. But it's crazy that, that was an option. I was like, wow, he's really going to cut his arm off. And he did, so that was crazy. So I went into Season 2 with, high hopes. Like, okay, that ending was really good. Now I'm actually really looking forward to Season 2. And I started it, and it was just as good. Actually, it started off so good, and I think it's partly because now I have that history with the characters. So when I see them, it's even better. It's like, okay, I know these guys. I've been through this with them, type thing. So when it actually came down to it, the episode started out strong, and it didn't let out from there. It kept going. Like the things that were happening just didn't slow down to the whole episode. Really, it was really good. And then I got episode 2. I finished episode 2 today, and that was just as good. So I don't know, maybe they got different writers, so they don't have to do the whole building up of the characters anymore. They can just get straight to the story. But I'm definitely liking Season 2 much better. So hopefully it's got a good ending like the Season 1 did.
Hopefully.
Have you played Season 2?
I have not played Season 2 yet. So I played Season 1, and I got through that ending, and I was like, oh man, I don't think I'm emotionally ready for Season 2 yet. And I haven't made it to playing Season 2 yet. I've played a bunch of other games, and I'm just afraid. I'm afraid I'm going to play in Season 2, and it's going to ruin me just as bad as it did Season 1 did, so I'm trying to hold off a little bit, play other things first.
Yeah, that ending, man, was pretty emotional, for sure. Yeah, I didn't think it would be, but it definitely was.
They did a very good job with it too. Just the parts that are playable kind of thing. I don't know if I'm describing that right, but just what they make you do at the end. It all just makes sense. It feels right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's very good.
Yeah. So I'll say give it a shot. You should play Season 1 before you even do Season 2. That way, when you meet characters in Season 2 or it makes more sense to definitely try Season 1. So try Season 1, get through the first couple episodes. Maybe you'll really like it right away, but either way, get to the first couple episodes and you won't be disappointed by the ending. And then you can start Season 2. Yeah, that's it for my gaming this week. It's been kind of slow, but good gaming though. I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, a couple of good games. I'm glad you actually were able to play Dust and Elysium Tale. That's I bought it for you for a reason, because it's a good game, and I really enjoyed it. One of those games that it feels like a diamond in the rough. Like you're going through Steam and you're like, oh, what's this game? Oh, what's that game? I don't know, but I just feel lucky that I came across Dust, because or I shouldn't say just Dust, because Dust is the name of another game. Dust: An Elysium Tale, just because it just was so much fun to play. It, like, all in all, I think it was only about 8 hours of gameplay I put into it to beat the entire game.
Yeah.
And it just felt right. Like, that, to me, is how long a game should last. No game should be more than 8 hours of gameplay. And I was doing a lot of, like, side stuff, but it still held my interest, all the little side quests or whatever, and the collecting, and the a couple achievements that I did get, like the 1,000-hit combo. Yeah. And, just like an achievement like that, it just gives you something to strive for. You see that and you're like, oh man, I really want to try and get that, because that just sounds cool. Yeah, but a great game all in all. The games I want to talk about this week are a couple of, like, 8-bit games, kind of the old style of games. And the first one is Bit Dungeon 2. Hey, unfortunately it's not 8-bit Dungeon 2, but it's Bit Dungeon 2. It's a very cheap game on Steam. And don't expect a whole lot. Like, don't expect this game to be amazing, because it's not an amazing game. It's just a fun little game to play. Like a little time waster, I guess you could call it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, the game has first off, the game is a roguelike. And it's very challenging in the beginning just because of how weak you are. And it just seems very difficult to try and get some gear that actually helps out. But once you find that gear, you can become very, very powerful. And currently, that's kind of where I'm sitting at. I'm very powerful. I could probably just run through the whole rest of the game and not even have, not worry about really anything, because I can just roll over everything. But it took a while to get to that point. And that's what I enjoyed about it. I enjoyed the journey, Yeah. And because it is a roguelike, everything is just so random. And the gear that you get could be absolutely terrible and just not work for you. But there is a pretty good amount, or a good variety of it. You can just keep going, keep killing stuff, and keep getting all that loot. A couple of little things about the game. There is no attack button unless you have a ranged weapon. So the way you attack is you just run into an enemy, and it auto-attacks for you. Now... As I said, it's not a $60 game with amazing everything. So it's just a little cheap game that's a lot of fun to play, It's just run into an enemy and auto-attack them, which can make it very challenging, especially in the beginning of the game when you have, like, no health and you do very little damage. You're just kind of, like, running into enemies and trying to get a hit and then run back and dodge away. But once you start getting gear, and once you start finding your way through the little overworld there, it becomes a lot more fun. And cool. Whether you ever get to that point, whether you lose interest before that, oh well, at least you gave it a try and you had some fun with it. So I enjoyed it though. Another game though is Crawl, and this game is stupendous. It's still in early access on Steam, so the game is not done. I'm sure there's a whole bunch more balancing that has to go into this thing. But if you do not know, Crawl is a 4-player game, 4-player local co-op. One person plays the hero, and the other 3 people play ghosts, or spirits, I think they are. And they have demons or monsters that they control. And the way you control a monster is you have to summon it. There's like a little pentagram in the ground, and you go over as a spirit to that pentagram, and it'll randomly summon one of your 3 monsters. And then you control that monster, and you're trying to kill the hero. Now, whoever gets the final hit on the hero becomes the next hero, and that person that was the hero becomes a spirit. Now, that just gameplay and the style of it, man, it's so good. Like, why didn't anyone think of this before is kind of the only thing I could think of. Like, that the new game that cannot think of the name of it because I'm a big dum-dum, but the new game that came out, that big indie title that one person plays as the monster, and then you have the 4 players, and it's a online game, and you kill them.
I just can't remember the name either, but pretty sure I know what you're talking about, though. But
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a AAA title and big game. That not knowing the name is going to drive me insane. Anyway, like that's the only other game that I could even think of that has that mechanic in it, where other people are trying to kill somebody who's the hero kind of thing, or in that game's case, the monster. So you kill the hero, you become the hero, and then you go and then you kill the other spirits and the summoning monsters. And there are rooms with traps, so the spirits can control a trap and shoot the trap at the hero and try to kill him. And because it is a final hit to become the next hero, it adds just another layer of depth to the game, where when the hero's getting low, you really start focusing. You're like, oh, come on, I gotta get this last hit. And it's very satisfying when you have like a ranged character and you're all the way on the other side of the room when you like shoot something at the hero and he's got that one hit left and you just get it there. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And so far, I've only played it against bots. I haven't been able to get a group of friends together and play the game, but I'm doing my best now. I'm going to get some guys together. We're going to play this game with 4-player local co-op, and it's going to be so much fun. Just like I started out on the bots on easy, and I just wiped the floor with them. wasn't even close. But I was still learning how the game went, so I wanted to start out easy. Then I went to normal, and it was a little closer, and then I went to hard. And with the bots on hard, it's challenging. Like you can still do it, but it's an actual challenge, and it's a lot of fun. The game, when you're the hero, you can buy upgrades to weapons, and you can buy items and stuff at the blacksmith. So pretty much when you become the hero, the first thing you do is you run back to the blacksmith, buy a bunch of gear, and then run back out and start killing stuff. And you have to reach level 10 as the hero, and once you reach level 10, then you can fight a boss, and the spirits control that boss. And if you can defeat that boss, then you escape the dungeon and you win. And then the other 3 characters lose, and you get to laugh at them. So it's very fun. And like as far as balancing issues, there's definitely some balancing issues, because just that game in general it's very, very difficult to try and balance, the monster skill to the hero skill. But one thing they're using is you gain wrath, I think it's called. Yeah, the resource is wrath, and you gain that when another hero levels up. So if for some reason you can just never become the hero, and all the other heroes would just keep leveling up and leveling up, you'll be gaining a whole lot of this wrath resource so that you can make your monsters more powerful. And then, of course, if you have more powerful monsters, you have a better chance of getting that final hit and becoming the hero. A very kind of like back and forth game where you become the hero and you do a whole bunch of damage, you level up a whole bunch, buy some good gear, and then you get one shot by some big monster or something. And then you become the spirit, and then you're like, okay, now I got to figure out a way to get back at this guy now. I'm gonna become the hero again. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to control the boss when you're not the hero fighting the boss. That's pretty cool. I really enjoyed that, and yeah, just all in all, a very fun game. Very, very cool mechanic. Yeah.
What if can everyone be a level 10 hero? So if you're fighting the boss as a level 10, if you die fighting the boss, somebody else, whoever kills him, gets to be the new hero, right?
Yeah, whoever gets the killing blow becomes the new hero.
Even when you're fighting the boss?
Oh, sorry, no. When you're fighting the boss, the hero just gets kicked out from the boss fight, and he only has a little bit of health left, and then he has to continue on. But no one else can go into that boss, or no one else can fight that boss on that level of the dungeon. So you'd have to go down the stairs into the next level of the dungeon, and then everything resets. Like, you don't know where the blacksmith is, you don't know where the stairs to the next level is, and you don't know where the new boss summoning area is. So
okay,
yeah.
So the guy that was fighting the boss, he will go back outside to the dungeon area. He'll get killed eventually, supposedly, and then somebody else will
because he's got very low health, so chances are he'll probably die.
And then the new hero will have to find out where the boss is if it's already level 10.
Yeah, you have to go to the next floor though, and kind of start the floor over because that you can't go to another boss fight on that floor.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to play, and like I said, I just play with bots so far, but I'm sure playing with actual people will be much more intense, mainly because you have people in the room to yell at you when you get some cheap shot on them, so that's always fun.
Right.
All right, and with that, why don't we go ahead and move into the video games segment?
Let's do it.
And on the video game segment today, I want to talk about playing old games. What? That's funny how I talked about 8-bit games, and now I want to talk about playing old games.
Wow, it's
almost like I planned that or something.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But specifically, playing old games on a CRT or an older TV or tube TV, whatever you want to call it. And
way back when.
Just the benefits of that. Yeah, I mean, all the old games, all the old consoles, they were designed around being played on a CRT. So when you pop in a Super Nintendo game or a regular Nintendo game and you display it on your 55-inch flat screen LED TV, it looks terrible. It really does. And for me, I've always hated that. I've always hated playing old games on a modern TV just because of how bad they look. Like even playing PlayStation 2 games on a new TV, it doesn't look right to me. I don't know. It might just be for like nostalgia's sake, which is usually why I'm playing all those old games. And it just, when you're playing on a good display, you really see how the graphics look back then. So I have been trying to, and I do it quite often, is I'll play my older games, older systems on an old CRT. It looks so much better, it's just it's how the games were designed to be played, and when you play them like that, it's just something special. I don't know, you just get a little bit more of that nostalgic feeling when you're playing an old game on an old CRT, and it just looks the way it did, back in the day.
Yeah.
So how about you, Daniel? You have you been playing any like older games? Have you tried playing them out on like a flat screen or something?
Yeah, I've played older games on like you said, on the flat screen. I've always thought it looked weird. I didn't think about it. That I didn't realize that when I was doing it, it was because they were made to play on the older TVs. And I threw out my old tube TV, whatever, CRT TV, a long time ago. So there's no playing of those games anytime soon on those TVs. I've also heard that playing those games on a newer TV, you'll get lag or something when you press a button. It'll be like 1 or 2 seconds sometimes of lag. I don't know if you heard about that.
Well, I think that might be like trying to play them on newer systems or something. There might be and it's not 1 or 2 seconds. It's like 1 or 2 milliseconds. But yeah. I've heard of stuff like that where people get lag because you're trying to emulate an older, hardware architecture kind of thing, and sometimes it doesn't really sync up perfectly. So you get that tiny bit of lag or whatever with button presses or inputs, and it can ruin it. Like if you're playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and you're trying to beat Mike Tyson.
Say.
A couple milliseconds off on an input you're just going to lose. You have no chance because already that game is just fast twitch response,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The pen, it requires that millisecond extra that you're losing playing it on the new screen. But I could see it would be pretty cool to play a game like that, an old game on an older TV, because like you said, it would be nostalgia, especially for older folks like me. I grew up playing that stuff when I was, little. Well, you did as well, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And something that I'm reminded of is the PlayStation 2. It is backwards compatible to the PlayStation 1, and when you put in a PlayStation 1 disc into the PlayStation 2, one of the settings you can go in and change is like the smoothing, I think it's called, and it tries to help out with the fact that you're probably playing it on a more modern TV, And I think I mentioned the PlayStation 2 earlier, like, oh, you have to play PlayStation 2 on an old CRT. What I meant to say was a PlayStation 1. A PlayStation 1 game.
PlayStation 1. I think it's
a PlayStation 1 game played on a CRT, looks a lot better than it does on a flat screen. Now, in the PlayStation 2 settings, as I was saying, the option that you can go and change is like smoothing or whatever, and it's just trying to emulate that old CRT look where you can't see every single pixel, perfectly outlined in the characters. Because in a lot of games, like I was playing through Final Fantasy IX before on an LED screen, and the game just looked really bad, and I'm like, why does this game look so bad? Like it should be better because it's the screen's so much more clear. I'm supposed to be able to see more things, but that's not. There are already so many pixels on the screen, and when you're putting them on an old LED, it just looks really bad. But going through and playing like a game like Final Fantasy IX on a old CRT, it looks so much better because that's how the characters were again designed to look. That kind of like blurry look where you can't see every single pixel. So when the characters are just very small on the screen or whatever, it looks really bad. It looks like just like 4 blocks or whatever on an LED TV. But on a CRT, you can kind of make it out. It's just that it's almost like squinting your eyes kind of thing, where just stuff blurs a little bit, and you can make it out. Like you can kind of make it out. Like anytime you look at art, and you can't look at art not squinting. I don't know. Never understood art.
It's kind of like a painting. Like you look at it from far away, from a certain distance, it looks great. But when you get closer and closer, it just starts looking like brush strokes. There's not really like an actual picture when you get right next to it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the equivalent of that. And I think we were playing the Final Fantasy IX. Was that the one that we were playing at my house?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And I think you actually went in the settings after a little bit, and you were like, that doesn't look right. And you went in the settings and changed it.
I think we were playing out in like the PlayStation 3, though, if I remember.
Yeah.
Because I got it and the what is it, downloadable or from the store.
Mm-hmm.
You can get the old games, and you were playing on the PS3. But man, yeah, in bringing that game up now, I'm just thinking about how much I love that game. And that's something I want to talk about on another. That's something I want to talk about on another episode. Is kind of JRPGs and just stuff about them. So I'll keep that for another episode.
Well, I got a question about the old games there. What do you think of when they remaster older games to play on the newer game consoles? Like when they remastered Shadow of the Colossus and Ico.
Oh, when they like remastering the game and releasing it again, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that makes a difference? Do you think it looks... Do you think they should do that, or they should just leave it how it was to begin with?
That's a tricky one. You mentioned Shadow of the Colossus, and I'm so happy they did that because I didn't play Shadow of the Colossus back in the day on PS2. So I played the remastered on PS3. And I adore that game.
Yeah.
Another game like Crawl, where it's just, I've always wanted to do this. You fought these huge boss monsters in games, and especially like MMOs, you're fighting these 10-story high monsters and you're just hitting its toe till it falls down. And it never felt satisfying. So when I heard there's a game where you can climb up these massive colossi and, hit weak points and it's just like, this is how every boss fight in every game should be,
Right.
Just something that I've been wanting to do for so long. To get back to your original question about the remastering, yes for that game. Yes for... what was your favorite game that you just played on the PS4? It's my game, and I came over and...
Last of Us. Oh my god.
So yes for The Last of Us. And again, because I never played the original, so when they remastered it, I went and I got it for the PS4. Now, the old Halo games keep getting remastered. I think they do at the 10-year reunion, they remaster it and then release it with like some other game, like Master Chief Collections or whatever. That is really cool. I haven't played them yet, but it's really cool in the sense that there's a button you can press that immediately reverts back to the old graphics. That's really cool. Okay. And it works very well in game. You're just running along. You hit the button, now it's old graphics. You hit the button again, now it's new graphics. And it's just, it's seamless in how you can go back and forth like that. And that's really cool. Man, just remastering in general, I like it and I don't like it. Because, like I said, I just gave you all the reasons why I like it, are those. I don't like it because it seems like game developers and, everyone involved in that is just, they just keep re-releasing games for nostalgia's sake. And as I mentioned before, I own a lot of old games on old consoles, and when I want to play them, that's how I do. I play them on older consoles. And then it is a good and it is a bad thing, because it's bad because it just seems like it's a big money grab. Like, oh, we're going to release Mario Brothers for the 48th time on this thing now. Oh, good. Here, let me buy it for that too. Give you more of my money. So that's annoying to me. But then again, on the same level, it's like it's introducing this game to newer generations of people that haven't played it yet, and that's
what I was going to say.
And it's
made for that. Yeah.
So there are pros and cons, and I listed a lot more pros than I did cons. But it always seems when I see a game is getting remastered, or a game is releasing again, or you can buy it again on this, you can buy it. It just, I don't know. It feels like it's just a way for people to get more money, I
don't know. I feel like if the game has to be worthy of a remastered, they shouldn't just
definitely
do it. And if it feels cheap like that, like doing it just because, they think they're going to buy it, not because it's actually worthy of getting remastered, then that's kind of annoying. But games like Shadow of the Colossus and Last of Us definitely need, a remastered, because those games are amazing. And for people that didn't get a chance to play it before, like you get to play them. And I didn't play it. I only played Last of Us on the PS4 as well. When you left it at my house for like 2 weeks and you left the game there, I went through it, and I loved that game. I was just like blown away. At first, I didn't know what I was getting into, and then I just couldn't stop playing, and it was so good. But I always thought because I did play Shadow of the Colossus, when it first came out. And then when they did remastered, I didn't have a copy anymore because I don't have my PS1 or PS2 anymore. I was like, oh, okay, I need to get it, because it's been a long time since I played it, and I love that game. And I got it remastered. So I was glad that they released a remastered edition for, the newer generation, so the people that didn't have a chance and don't have a PS2 to play it on. So stuff like that, I think it works. And I thought it kind of looked a little weird. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe I was expecting it to look like amazing. I mean, it still looked amazing, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I think I was just
You just wanted it to look absolutely perfect when they remastered it.
Yeah. And it just looked like it didn't seem like they did too much remastering to it, but maybe they did. I don't have the old copy to compare it to.
Yeah.
So I just thought I asked that question. That was something that was on my mind when it came to that. Look how games look,
Now, with remastering, what do you think of like the 3DS? Because the 3DS has been pretty much, because they have no new Zelda game. Well, that's not true. They actually have 2 new Zelda games now. But like, they're remastering Ocarina of Time, and they made it in 3D, and then they remastered Majora's Mask and made it in 3D, and I have played through both of those and beaten both of those games. And the thing is, I never had beaten Majora's Mask before. I had played it, but I'd never beaten it. So when I saw that they were remastering it and making it in 3D, I was very excited. So, oh man, I guess I have way more pros than I have cons. Okay. All right, well, let's put this out there. It's a pro if it doesn't get out of control, kind of thing. Like, if every game that's ever been made starts getting remastered by these people, then it becomes a problem, and I don't approve anymore. But right now, they're only remastering games that you said that really deserve it. Like, Shadow of Colossus is a game that everybody should play. There's no other way around that. Everyone should play that game. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask... Not everyone has to play those games, but they're good. They're good games. I do like that they're remastering it. I'm afraid it might get out of hand. So the way it's being handled right now has been very well.
Maybe that's why they remastered it to the 3DS and not their consoles because they're thinking it's going to be more of a niche thing, and people that own a 3DS will be more interested in that than the other people that own, the Wii U or whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, no one owns the Wii U, so they can't really release it on the Wii U. But the 3DS thing was that they made the game in 3D because the 3DS is in 3D, so you can turn on the 3D, and now your game is in 3D, and it's very fun to run around in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and it be in 3D, like all the spell effects and stuff that are shooting in your face, and just running around, and like Navi's little fairy dust that falls off her and it like kind of comes at you. It's really cool. If you haven't played around with the 3DS yet, I highly recommend it because it is very cool. Some people, it gives a lot of people headaches though, just that the screen in the 3D, they did a good job with the new 3DS, and that they use the camera to actually track your face, and so it adjusts the 3D it adjusts the 3D effect to where your face is. So when you're moving the thing around because you're trying to shoot stuff or you're trying to hit buttons, the 3D effect isn't like getting jarred as the screen moves a little bit. So
yeah, that
works out very well. Yeah.
So it seems to me that older games are good to play, on the older TVs, right? But if they get remastered, they're remastered in order to play them on the newer TVs. So they're thinking of the newer TVs when they're remastering.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't look as bad.
Well, yeah, I mean...
And that's why it would be good for people that don't have the older TVs to play, and even the older consoles to play these older games that they should play. And that's why remastered for games that deserve it, because we know what games deserve it or don't deserve it, need to be remastered so these people could actually get a hold of them and play them, and even for the new generations as well to play them, like my daughter, So it'd be fun to have remastered editions for when we don't have the CRT TVs to play the older games how they should look,
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really think they're remastering old Nintendo games and old, like, PlayStation 1 games. But, yeah, I see what you're saying. They're trying to just update it so that people who have the new consoles can play these older games and get to appreciate them and get to see how good this game can be.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good amount of talk about that subject there.
Well, why don't we go ahead and move into the board game segment?
Very well. This segment, I like to talk about hidden movements. The hidden movement games, or I guess the mechanic, mechanic, I always get them confused, in games. And actually, the games I'm going to be talking about have a lot of similarities to the crawl game that you're talking about, where it's one versus many, or many versus one, same difference. Where these games I'm going to talk about use the hidden movement in the game, but it's a group of players, like 4 players, trying to find and defeat this one player that's moving around the board in secret. And the first game is a newer game that just came out this year, that when it came out, it made a pretty big splash. It's called Spectre Ops. Came out in 2015. Obviously, I said this year. Designed by Emerson Matsushi and published by Plaid Hat Games. They've been releasing a lot of great games, that company, and this is just one of the newer games they've released that has keen.
Oh, is this the one we played when we were up in Yosemite?
Yep, this is the one.
Oh, yeah, this game is really fun, and I was so opposed to playing it. I forget why I really didn't want to play it, but it was just one of those things that I don't know, I just maybe didn't feel like I was in the mood for Daniel trying to teach me to play a new game. But all in all, it turned out to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we play it with 5 people, and that includes a variant when you play with 5 people where you have one of the 4 players trying to defeat the one secret player. He's going to be a person that's going against them. Oh my god, I can't even think of the word. He's going to be a rogue agent. There we go. So he's going to be in secret working with the other player. Was it 5 of us playing? Anyways, that game uses this hidden the hidden movement mechanic where the player that is the agent. So what it is, let me explain the game.
One step at a time, Daniel. One step at a time.
Yeah, because I'm going to start explaining the game and they don't know what I'm talking about. So in this game, you are the secret agent is working for an organization that's trying to thwart like this overbearing organization, another organization, and you try and get into this base to destroy 3 different objectives. There's 4 objectives, but you gotta destroy 3 of them. So the agent's gonna go into the base, and it's gonna sneak around to each objective, get right next to it, and pretty much activate it, which means he destroyed it, and then head to the other objective and do the same thing until there's 3 objectives that are destroyed, and then that agent has to sneak out. In the meantime, 1 to 4 other players are going to be on the board, walking around with the miniatures in space, going square by square, trying to figure out where you are. And during the whole game, each character has different abilities they can use to try and spot the agent. The agent has abilities that he can use to throw the people off from his trail, and it's very, it's intense. Like sometimes when you're the agent, you go to this one spot thinking they're not going to go there, and all of a sudden one of the other guys walks right like 2 spaces away from where you are, and you're trying to sit there and not look freaked out, not to give anything away that you are the other guards are 1 space, they're 1 space away from you, and you're just trying to sit there like trying to really relax and not give anything away, while they're right next to you.
Can't show face.
Yeah, so, and another thing that gives your position away is when you complete the objective, you have to flip over a token on the board. So that lets everybody know that you were just there. So they kind of know where you are, so they can start going in that direction and try and corner you before you can hide again. So hidden movements games are really fun for me. It's one of those things that I just like with hidden information. For some reason, that stuff really I really enjoy that stuff. I enjoy the hidden movement, the hidden roles. I don't know why. I just think it's fun to have secrets on the table, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. You're a very secretive person. I think that's what it is.
Another game is Lupin the Third. That's anime, but this company, Genos, I don't know how to pronounce the name, Genos, Genos Games, produced the game in 2011. And it's pretty much like the anime. You're Lupin, and this time, though, it's a little reversed. You're Lupin and his 3 other gang members of the Lupin, and you're trying to get to the treasure or to the bank, whatever, and rob it. While at the same time, the other players they're the inspector, Senigata, and his police force. So there's like one player that's going to be Senigata, trying to find Lupin and the other gang, and they're secretly moving around the city spaces while you're moving your police around trying to find them. So it's like 4 players versus 1, but reversed. It's not like Spectre Ops where the 1 player is trying to sneak in. The other one is 4 players trying to sneak in to get to the bank and rob the bank and leave before Senigata takes them. So that's a pretty fun game as well. Especially if you like Lupin, like me, you're gonna find the cards and the powers just pretty thematic to the lore of Lupin and how the whole anime is. And the latest one that just came out, I haven't had a chance to play yet. It's actually the 3rd edition of Fury of Dracula. That's a game that...
Dracula? I know who that is.
Yeah. This one is another hidden movement where you 1 versus many, where you're Dracula playing against 4 other inspectors trying to find Dracula and defeat him throughout Europe. So Dracula's going around Europe collecting, siring other vampires. And the point is to get to 10 influence points or 12 influence points, and if the Dracula player does that, he wins. And the way that the other players win is if they defeat Dracula by killing him. So they're going around the Europe map trying to find him. That game the production value is really pretty, and I've heard nothing but good things, and I read the rules, and I played like a mock-up game by myself, which is really hard to do, obviously, since I know exactly what Dracula is. I just kind of wanted to know how the mechanics work, so when I
Oh, no, I don't know where you are right now. Yeah, okay.
I'm going to go
like cheating
here.
To me.
So, yeah, it seems pretty cool, and the fighting mechanic looks really cool. Like, when you finally find Dracula, you go into a city that he's in. You each play a card face down, and you flip them over at the same time. Each card is going to have symbols. If the symbols match either of those 2 cards, say it has like crossed swords and the inspector also has crossed swords, then that means Dracula can't use his power for that card because the inspector matched Dracula's symbol. So then the inspector gets to do his power, his action against Dracula, and Dracula can't do it. So it's like a guessing game. You're you're trying to think of what card the other players might play. So when I play, if I'm Dracula, so when I play my card, we don't match the symbol, so I get to use my power over them, and stuff like that. So the fighting looks pretty fun that way. But yeah. That's hidden movement is just a fun way to play games and a way to just add more interesting mechanics to games. So the only games you play with hidden movement is Spectre Ops, right? You haven't played any other?
Yeah, I've only played Spectre Ops, and I wanted to quickly talk about that game and how. First off, did you win or did we win? I can't remember. I know it was down to the last couple of moves.
Yeah, I think I got away. Wow, I can't remember.
I don't think you did. I think we beat you. There's no way you beat me in a board game. That can't happen. So we must have won that game. I remember you were like really upset because like somebody moved like right on top of you or something, or like one space away from you, and then you like couldn't get by them. Yeah. That game, like I said before, that game it's a lot of fun. Hidden role, or not hidden roles, but hidden movement. It's a very interesting game mechanic because in Spectre Ops, like the other person has like a notebook and they sit there and they write down, okay, well I've moved from here to here, and they keep track of all their stuff like that. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, yeah, it could be like tedious, I guess. I don't know. I'd have to sit there and like map stuff out, but it seems like it could be interesting. Not having played is it the agent or is it the spy?
The spy. You just played the agents, yeah. The
guards. Okay. So you were the spy.
Guards. Yeah, I was the spy because it's easier for the person that knows how to play the game to do the spy first. So
yeah, it made sense that in that first game you played the spy, but so not having played the spy, I can't really say what it's like. I mean, I can say what it's like to be the agent and just be running around like crazy going, wow, I haven't seen him anywhere. Okay, yeah, we saw him over there. Let's all go over there. And then he's not over there. It's like, this game is cheating. So
a lot of things with that is the agents or guards or whatever, they have to use their powers more. And if you don't, because they have powers in order to try and pin down what the player might be. And if they don't use their powers, if people just move and they're done with their turn, that is not good. So they have to like remind themselves to use their powers. That helps a lot in locating where the agent might be, or the spy might be. So that's the same thing with the other games.
And it was nice of you to not remember or not remind us about the abilities just at the end of the game. Oh, you guys should have been using your abilities more. Oh, thanks for reminding us.
I'm pretty sure I said it a lot of times.
Yeah, you probably did. I don't know. I can't remember.
So another thing about hidden movement, though, is because you don't know what the player is doing, you don't know if they're cheating, It's like they have the notepad in front of them. For both Lupin III and Spectre Ops, they have a notepad. But for Fear of Dracula, it's actually done by cards. There's a track on the board that Dracula, when he goes to a city, places that city card on the tracker. So if one of the inspectors ever gets to that city, Dracula flips over that city on the tracker. So so that's a different way of tracking the hidden movement. But for the other game, it's really up to that player to not cheat and when somebody actually gets to that space, it's up to them to say something. I could sit quiet and not say anything. But man, if you're gonna be that kind of player, I pretty much probably won't play with you again. This is like really, you're gonna cheat.
Oh, don't worry. When I play a hidden movement role, I will just be cheating the entire game. Like, oh, you guys never saw me once. I escaped.
Yeah, right.
Game over, and I'll just walk, tear up the notebook, and just walk away.
Just tear up real quick, throw it in the trash. But that's about all I gotta say about hidden movement. And those three games I feel that are pretty good, especially Spectre Ops. That's a really fun game.
Oh yeah. Okay, and with that, I guess we'll call it an episode. What do you think, Daniel?
That's about good. Good for me.
Yeah. Alrighty, so as always, you can reach us through the following. Our Twitter is @GamesInGaming. Our email address is gamesandgamingpodcast@gmail.com. Our website is gamesandgamingpodcast.com. And until next time, I'll see you online.
And I'll see you at the table.